Well, it's been 39 days. Not since I last worked out, although it feels like that, Razor. It's been 39 days since we have sat at opposite ends of virtuality and connected to talk hockey, in particular, Boston Bruins hockey. We have talked on the phone, I don't know, more than twice, maybe once,
Yeah,
twice.
not too
Okay.
much.
But it is a sheer pleasure to see your smiling face. Not your, oh shit, it's late at night and I got to, get it done. And oh, my scrambled look of disheveledness. How's summer been so far? As we welcome you into the first off-season morning brew with Jaffe and Razor, albeit this one admittedly done in the evening with a different kind of brew in hand. How has summer been so far?
Summer's been nice. It's flying by. We're looking at July 20th already. Crazy to imagine, but it's been great. It rains every day, as
Oh
everyone
my
in New
God.
England certainly knows. So that hasn't been great for the Cape days, but it's been great. It's been fun, and we're talking hockey already. So that's. I mean, we're talking hockey 39 days later after the Bruins were knocked out, but we only have probably about 39, 40 more days till the guys are getting back on the ice, and that's going to be a bonus too.
Yeah, so speaking of that, preseason schedule announced just earlier today, a total of 6 games. I don't have them in front of me. I know they're against Washington, and I know they're against Philly and the Rangers. That I know. I don't have the exact dates, but we don't even have the dates yet for the regular season. There's still a little, I think, in flux on that. And I think it has something to do with the Olympic break, if it happens or not.
Yeah, and
So
that came out today as well, correct? Where they actually left room in the schedule for that, which is I suppose a good first step if you're an Olympic hockey fan. I think still a
do you want him to
extremely
go?
long.
Do you want him to go? I
I
don't. I don't.
I China's a long ways away. That's my issue.
Folks, there you have it. China is a long ways away.
I've been on that plane. I've taken that direct flight from
Yep.
Boston Logan Airport, and it's a long ways away.
Yep.
Do we get to even watch the games in real time with time? The whole thing. So, but I'm always on the players' side of things when it comes to getting their way. So that's why I'm pro Olympics, because I know the guys want to go, and the guys love that break. Man, I loved that break. Whew.
I get it. I get all of it. I know we've discussed this before. I have
Yeah.
always been in the minority. I will not say that I haven't enjoyed some of the best Olympic moments, i.e., the Vancouver games, but
Yeah.
that's just because it worked out perfectly. An amazing environment in North America. Time zones were, it was perfect,
Yeah.
and it was phenomenal. I'm not in favor of all the other stuff. And that doesn't mean that I'm not in favor of the players in many instances, which I think you know that I am. But in this regard, I'd keep it to every 2 or 4 years doing a World Cup of hockey. I would keep the NHL season flowing. And in particular, this upcoming season, in the messed up world that we've been living in, and who the hell knows where we're going to be come, in a few months too. I think less is more. I just do, especially this time around. And I'd like to see them. I'd like to see them each have. I'd like to see us all have a break, 1 week, a spring vacation like we had as kids, instead of the 3 weeks. But have a vacation, let everybody rest up. I think that's maybe a thing you can negotiate in. Regardless, we'll see. Schedule hasn't come out yet. Could come out soon. We know we have preseason, so we're going to be talking that. We've got so much to cover, folks. It's going to be a little bit longer morning brew than normal, but we're going to fly through stuff. We're going to get to. We've got a bunch of questions from you as well. I mean, we've had a good summer so far, except Razor, going to be honest with you. On my end, I didn't really get the summer till July 2nd. I got home from working from NHL Network July. I'm like, holy shit, it's July 2nd.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
a short one for you.
This isn't summer. Now, you've been on the ice, but I know that also feels like summer at times for you too,
Yeah.
because the schedule's a little different.
It is, and I've actually missed a lot of that, to be honest. I've been bouncing around, and I was away for a week and down. I had a big golf week this past week, so I've
Oh,
got
that's
my
right. How
summer
did
in
you
now,
do?
and I'm looking. Oh,
How'd you
played
do?
horrible. We played horrible. We played horrible. We had way too much fun. Way too much fun. So it was a long, hard day of Sunday for me.
Okay. Okay.
Getting back to reality, but did not play well. My golf game stinks again, and I'll blame it on the rain.
All right. Well, you know how my golf game is. It's right now in the basement. My clubs have literally not left the basement. I jammed I jammed my shoulder pretty good. I'm going in for an MRI later
Oh,
this
is
week.
that working out? That's why you don't work out.
Nope, it wasn't
Oh,
working out. It was playing hockey on a night that
oh.
I was like, what am I doing? I'm like not into it, but I'm like,
Mhm.
I need to sweat. It was right before I went back to work for NHL Network for the Stanley Cup for a few days, and I jammed my shoulder into the boards, and I'm like, um, I don't think it's as bad as what I feared, but I do think it's definitely. I know it's injection worthy if I have any chance of playing golf this summer.
That's
So
heartbreaking. That
it's,
is
it
absolutely
sucks.
heartbreaking. Yeah.
So when I come to your camp to shoot, I'm doing tips
Okay.
and passing. I'm doing tips and passing.
Perfect.
And speaking of camps, I'll put on my broadcaster voice here. And I promise you, we're getting right now, folks coming up. It's just great to catch up with Razor. And by the way, we saw RC. Our guy RC is on air, but off air right now. We got to see him too. I know we haven't shown him yet. He had this big, bushy kind of coat, did all this stuff. He's clean shaved now. Well, almost clean shaved. He's looking
It's
good.
got the duster still.
He's got the little duster, and he's now working at Harvard.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
The pipe
Way to
every
go,
day. You
RC.
smoke a pipe every in the afternoon.
We love RC. Congratulations on the gig, buddy. And we're thrilled that you're still messing around with us putzes,
Yeah.
doing this. But
Far from Harvard.
far from Harvard, isn't that the truth? So a lot of stuff to get to, but we're having a ton of fun catching up. And thanks for all the questions we got to from the fans via social media. We're going to get to a bunch of them, as many as we can. So we got a lot to get to, and we know how now our summers have been. Again, Razor's been in it. He's on the ice now, coaching. What I was going to say is this. I'm going to put on my best broadcaster voice and tell you that this episode of Morning Brew is brought to you by the Andrew Raycroft Adult Goalie Camp and the regular goalie camps over at Warrior and the Billy Jaffe adult hockey camps over at Warrior. Check out warrioricearena.com to sign up. Razor, your camps I think are almost all filled, right? They're almost in August. They're almost jammed
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, there are. There's still room for the adult camp. So any adult goalies out there that want to get on the ice, August 6, 7, 8.
Yep.
And it's fun. It's always been fun. We'll be able to get out again. We'll be able to go out and hang out together. So any goalies out there, check it out.
Awesome. So August 6th, 7th, 8th at Warrior is the adult Andrew Raycroft adult hockey camp at Warrior. I have a women's camp and a men's camp at Warrior Ice Arena. The women's camp August 13, 14, 15. The men's camp 16th through 20th at Warrior. WarriorIceArena.com. Go check it out. All right. Let's get to the Bruins right now, bud. We have any surprises at all? Did you have any surprise at all at the expansion draft, protected or unprotected list?
No, very ho-hum. Very ho-hum. I think it would have been the only way it would have been a surprise if Jake DeBrusk gets left off. But it was pretty easy for them dealing with the higher end free agents that they have coming up. It was pretty chalk for me. And I can't imagine, it's going to be, I got to imagine it's one of the D-men that Seattle are going to want. They're both pretty good value picks.
Yeah.
And that'll be the way it goes. And the Bruins will have to fill in those spots accordingly.
There's been some groundswell lately that Curtis Lazar could be the guy taken as well. I don't disagree that he wouldn't be a bad pick, but no. I don't disagree with you at all that Lausanne or Clifton will be the one taken. I've been leaning Cliffy for the last couple of weeks, if only because his playoff performance was really, very respectable. Yep. He's a little older. He's a right shot defenseman. He signed for a couple years. Now, granted, so is Lausanne, but he's actually younger. So Clifton, if it doesn't work in a year or two, he's almost easier to move on from for a team like the Kraken. Signed at a very reasonable $1 million. I just think if it goes I did my own mock draft, and man, oh man, you just don't know any side deals that are happening, and you know any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I had 10 or 11 defensemen that were being taken, and I had Clifton being the one from the Bruins. I think his experience, and I believe actually his confidence. I think you got a guy who's just old enough, and he's got, and you know that Seattle's doing their investigative reporting, so to speak. Their deep dive into these guys. They're going to hear about how Connor Clifton, and AKA Cliffy Hockey, has this swagger to him. And I think that's important to have going to an expansion team. A guy's going to walk in there and say, damn it, I not only do I want a spot, I'm going to own a spot. And I think that that's something that Connor Clifton will have. And that is not to say that Lausanne can't get there. I just still think he's figuring out his game right now.
Well, and I think to that point, I think that'll be better for the Bruins if they lose Clifton for all of those reasons.
Maybe. Yeah.
I think having Lausanne, I would like to see Clifton go in that respect between those two, just because Lausanne's a little younger. He's your second round pick. Connor Clifton's the guy off the board a little bit. You have a second round pick you can keep in your stall and let him grow and mature into what hopefully will be I don't know, is upside Kevin Millar, light. And if you have a guy like that, if you can grow him into that, all the better. Listen, in both cases, they need an upgrade from outside. Yes. So it's kind of mute, but I like the idea of having Lausanne here rather than Clifton next season.
Well, I agree. I think that as a penalty killer in particular, here's a guy that can develop.
He's a solid defensive guy.
I mean, I loved Cliffy's ability to come in, to come out. I think his upside, and no shame, as a third pair guy, and there's no shame in that. I think he's a fantastic kid, and I do love his swagger. I do think that the Bruins will miss his swagger, just like they will miss Kevin Miller's toughness and swagger on the back end, and we're going to get to the lack of perceived lack of toughness that this team has. Now we're going to get to that in a little bit, but I'm with you. I think Clifton goes, Lausanne stays. Lazar is perhaps the one guy that maybe if they look at if they like somebody better on the back end from another team, they could take a Lazar. That could be the difference right there.
Yeah, if they need a fourth line center, right? If it just lines up that way, and there's so many names, so many variables. This isn't a normal draft where you just kind of take the best player available. This one really pertains to what's out there and how you build your team and your squad. And I'm not even talking about the side deals that are going on right now.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know if there's as many side deals as there were with the Vegas Golden Knights coming into the league, but I do think that we will see enough of those. I'm quickly going over my list of I think Yanni Gourde ends up there. I do from Tampa. So he becomes not a fourth line center, but a second or a third line for them. Could be captain type material. Lazar's not in that category of a Yanni Gourde. I'm just looking for other potential guys. So, I mean, maybe they might need that. Long way to go, but all right. We both agree that we think that Connor Clifton will be the guy that ends up there. So for the Bruins, they still have to deal now with getting Taylor Hall signed. Do they get him signed? Getting David Krejci signed. Do they get him signed? Tuukka Rask, we can even put off a little more. We will touch on him. But, I mean, we know that they're going to wait till after the expansion draft, right? I mean, I don't sense any deals coming from Don Sweeney with Seattle. Do you? I don't.
No, I don't think so. I think I think the Bruins, of all the teams going through the list, are as content as anyone when it comes to expansion draft. There's no one on their list where they're absolutely dreading or this really messes
Yeah,
up their plan. They're going to deal with whoever gets taken. I think they feel comfortable with that. And then they move directly into free agents
because that's not the
and who's
so.
available.
All right, so let me. That's not to say, and I'm asking more than I'm telling you, bud. That's not to say though that the Bruins won't have a ton of heavy duty work to do
Oh,
with this team. I mean,
absolutely. No,
all
no,
right,
no, no. Yeah, it's actually the opposite where yeah, this is like they get an extra day and a half maybe of hangout time because they
right.
really can't no one can do anything right now until this expansion draft gets done, but as soon as it does, it flips from them being one of the teams to watch or not watch come
Mhm.
expansion draft time. It flips completely to their number one from all of the contenders or all the teams that made it to the second round, that they got to figure it out and they got to get to what their roster is going to look like and their deals. Are they trading? Are they signing? What are they doing? Because they have a lot of question marks.
They
A
do.
lot.
I just feel like this team is on the precipice. I don't even know of greatness, but being pretty good to very good
Yep.
to being in rebuild
Yeah.
mode. I mean, I don't even think it's. I don't know if it's even mid ground anymore. I don't. I know people say, well, whenever you have Marchand and McAvoy and a Bergeron, and I don't disagree that you've got 3 or 4 beautiful, wonderful players, but to build around. But I mean, if you don't get a lot of those others, whether they're others back or those other high ends around and elevate areas like your toughness and your D depth, even with those 3 or 4 amazing pieces, Razor, I think they could be in a whole different world than we're used to seeing.
I couldn't agree more, and it all comes down to D and toughness, and D number one. I- We haven't talked since the with the Stanley Cup Finals, and Montreal was this great surprise and Carey Price. But you look at the top 4D on both of those teams.
Yeah,
There's a blueprint, and there's a reason why those two teams were there.
yeah.
And at Tampa Bay was loaded, and yes, 18 mil, Kucherov coming back. Dennis Savard's a pretty good pickup at the trade deadline for them to have been able to win the Stanley Cup. And
Yeah.
I'm sure they could have found a way to win without him because of Victor Hedman. But the reality is they have 4 guys on the back end that are 6'4", 220 that move the
Well,
puck and skate really well. And Montreal Canadiens had the same thing, and that's why they got to where they were. And I think that's my biggest question mark for the Bruins.
think about it. I mean, Michael Sergachev, Mikhail,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
Holy shit.
yeah,
He's on your third pair.
yeah.
He's your number. He's your number. If it's
He's your
funny,
utility guy. It's
exactly.
like he's your utility guy,
Right.
and we're talking about Connor Clifton, right? There's a big discrepancy there.
Right. So I mean, Jan Ruta plays with Victor Hedman, and even though he's actually their number 6 probably, Ruta,
Mm-hmm.
but you're
Yeah.
putting him with the beast of all beasts right now
Yep.
in the NHL, and he looks just great and fine.
Yep.
And
Chernak.
then Chernak is their number 4.
Mm-hmm.
Your second, and McDonough. McDonough was. I mean, I did that whole Islander Tampa series. Oh my god, fantastic.
Yeah.
So you're right. I agree with you about the D. So let's dive into it. Where do they go on the D? What do they do? Because right now your right side is Carlo, McAvoy, and nobody.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
Your left side, you Grizzlick. Let's assume Lausanne. Assume for our sake, and then we don't
No.
know about Riley.
Yeah.
Zaboral, Jared Tenorti. I don't
No.
know.
You have to overhaul it, right? You're looking at 2 or 3 new bodies coming in, and I love the Carlo deal. Seems very team friendly. If he
Mhm.
can find a way to get back to where he was prior to his injury, and I mean prior to the Wilson hit, I would say,
Mhm. Yeah.
team friendly deal. So you can work around it, and there's guys out there. You have these Ryan Suiters. You have more buyout opportunities. You have different guys. and then there's going to be trade options. So it'll be very interesting to see where it settles, and they're going to have to get creative because at the end of the day, these D men are hard to come by, and that's where they have to fill the most.
Yeah, we got one question. I know RC put together a list of a bunch of the questions that were asked by the fans and about where do they go with defensemen. And I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me right now who asked it. I'll pull it up later, but it's all, I mean, I'm fine. I actually am fine with them signing Ryan Suter. I am. I wasn't sure at first if I wanted that. I'd be fine. 2 years max.
That's short money too, because he's got a huge buyout, so you don't
But
have
I don't
to.
know if, but I don't know if it is short money, Razor. I think he's gonna be higher. How's this? He's gonna be more or less short money than Zach Parise. We know that. Parise is going to be
Yes.
playing for a league minimum plus a bonus. Suter,
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if
Well,
he
Suter's
doesn't.
going to. He's still going to go wherever he wants, though. If he wants to come to Boston, it'll be short money. If he wants to go to Tampa, it'll be short money. If he wants to go to wherever he wants to go, it'll be. That's what he's looking for right now because he's got $100 million in the bank. He's going to go. He's going to be able to pick where he wants to go, and he'll work. Yes, it's not short money, but he'll work his way under the cap. Whether he has to sign a 2-year deal, 1-year deal, 3-year deal. He's not, to your point, he's not short money where it's going to be $500,000. It's just going to be where he wants to go. All right, let's work this out.
Right. And especially where he's comfortable with his family going. Although I do think when it's all said and done, this is just my guess. My guess is his wife is going to say, you're going for a cup. Let's go for where you want to get a cup.
Yes.
I mean, let's go. Let's give it 2 years and go for it. I do not see him. I just don't see him going to any Canadian team. Okay, I just don't. And I think, boy, oh boy, would that be interesting if he ended up in a place like Tampa, a Florida. I mean, they're going to get rid of stuff, but then they could say to him, "Come down here for a mill, hang out.
I know.
You'll be our third."
Tampa's number one on the list of everybody. Right? Like they still are. And it's such the lifestyle, the team, they've got a good thing going on down there right now. And it's easy for a guy on a $3-4 million buyout with a lot of money in the bank to say, you know what, listen, I can only speak from experience, but my wife would be on the first plane down there to do that. She would be more than excited to get down there. So a lot of guys think the same way.
So I think there will be serious interest in Ryan Suter. I do, from the Bruins. Bruins have done well with American-born players too. They do. They've done well. So it'll be interesting to see that. Where do we think they go with their own UFAs? A Taylor Hall. I mean, Krejci we know is. I think Krejci almost. I'm wondering who's going to who's going to sign first if they do, Krejci or Hall? Is Hall saying, I need David to sign? And is David saying, well, I need to know Taylor's coming back? I'm leaning more and more towards David. I thought maybe it'd be a 2-year deal. I'm going back 1-year deal. I just think David's a 1-year deal, especially with the uncertainty that we seem to still be in with we'll call it, I don't know what wave, but the pandemic still being, we're not the uncertainty of that. I think it'll be a 1-year deal. I do think it's the old smoke where there's smoke, there's fire. I do think he ends up wanting to play back and check for a year or two when it's all said and done. Very Yager-like. I do. I think he wants to end up doing. I know he also loves South Carolina, where he has, his off-season home and his golf, and wouldn't surprise me. He just ends up there regularly. Speaking of Carolina, I think Carolina Razor would look at Krejci and say, "Hey, 2 years, play it on here." But I mean, where are you at? Let's start with Taylor Hall. I mean, I know that there's a lot of chatter about them discussing things. I would say my gut is 60-40 he ends up with the Bruins. Where are you at?
Yeah, my gut's around there. I think what happens after this expansion draft and after Seattle gets their first crack at guys, and all of a sudden there's two guys that the Bruins highly covet that they could go a different way and use the money in a little bit of a different way. And whether that's the back end, whether that's three guys of depth, I am certainly leaning Hall Krejci. And to your point, I think those guys signed the same time, same day, just same press release. No need to make a big deal about it. But I have I have not made a phone call on this. I just also think that the money could be spent on the back end, and if there's two or three defensemen that they could put together under the same number, I think you go there first and then try and piecemeal the front half of the lineup, because you have Marchand, Pasternak, Bergeron up there. Maybe you can believe in the other guys that they're going to continue to step up. It's certainly the I'm way out on a branch here, and I think the safe money's on Krejci Hall. I'm just crazy things could happen in this expansion draft where it changes quickly.
I agree with you. It could change the landscape of things.
Yeah.
I get it. I do.
Bruins have a lot of money. They have a lot of money to spend. They really do. And I know they have a lot of pieces to fill, but just and we're going to get to Tuukka, but that money coming off the board, him and Krejci, like that's a lot of money they can do a lot with.
Okay, fair enough. What potentially, I don't want to say scares me, but quasi concerns me is that they have all this money and that they end up throwing it. I don't want them it's like I tell my kids, I understand you want that little thing right now. It seems like a big thing to you, but don't spend all your money on that, right? You know what I mean? All of your piggy bank on that, because in another 6 months, you're going to want this. And I don't know if there's enough out there in the hockey world, the UFA world, et cetera. Maybe the trade world, and we'll get to that coming up. The trade world may be where you can make it and spend it, so to speak. Make your moves and spend your money. But I'd hate to see them spend a bunch of money on stuff that is good but not great, and then they just don't set themselves up for another 5-year run. You know what I mean? It's like it's the Krejci Hall thing. Look, I've seen reports, Razor, of potentially Hall on 6-year deals or something. I don't see it personally. I don't. I mean, I liked his regular season an awful lot. I'm mixed on the playoff performance. Need to see more. That should have been I'm assuming a great learning experience for him. But are you hitching your wagon for 6 years to that? I'm not convinced with that. Are you? I mean, no,
I'm not. But I bet some team is.
Okay, fair.
Team is. So then you start to look at, all right, well, the hometown discount that everyone assumes Taylor Hall is going to take because he talked about how much he loves being in Boston.
Which I do believe, by the way.
I do too, but I also believe that when push comes to shove and you have a 6-year deal or a 2-year deal, at the end of the day, it's hockey, and you don't know how long your career is going to be. And I know Taylor's done well, but you're taking that 6-year deal. And I know where you're going as well with like a Barclay Gaudreau deal of 6 years, $28 million. Right. You're like, what? That makes zero sense. And teams are going to sign that. The Rangers are going to sign that deal and think that puts them over the top. Right. That's nuts. You don't want the Bruins going out and doing that. And you hope that they've and to that point, that's where the trade deadline, the trade options come into play a little bit more with that money.
Yeah. That's my where I'm really focusing on, because your point about them having a ton of money is so accurate. I mean, literally accurate. We're talking what, 26 million now after they signed Carlo, I believe, give or take 26 mil. It's a ton of money. Yeah. But they got a ton of work to do. They got a lot to do. And I, because Marchand and Pasternak and McAvoy, and in some ways Carlo is, and we think Swayman, are really good. The cupboard isn't bare, but you know what I mean? You've got to really restock this thing. They also need to reimagine their fourth line. Let's not forget that. So is that where Trent Frederick, I mean, gets his chance. Are we seeing that this year now that they re-signed him and protected him? And I mean, is it, obviously leaving Richie unprotected. And I know some people are like Richie over DeBrusk, and we'll get to DeBrusk, I promise you, next. That's our next topic. But I mean, that fourth line needs to be significantly more valuable to the team than it has been the last 18 months.
That had to be the message to Frederick on the way out of town. That's your spot. Do everything you were going to do this summer to be that guy. Someone we can depend on every single night for 82 games. Get in the gym, do what you need to do, because we need you to you and Curtis Lazar, let's say, we need the two of you to dictate that fourth line. And we need you to give us an identity on our team, on that fourth line throughout the league. So that them protecting him, that's what that message is to me. And that's what I got to assume was told to him on the way out.
Okay. What was told to Jake DeBrusk? Now, we kind of know. We've heard about the whole, Bruce Cassidy, talking with him, Jake, etc. Jake's been, when I say he's been very quiet, I haven't spoken to him. I haven't reached out to him or anything. But there was a lot of consternation that he was protected, hasn't been moved. Overall, Razor, we all know that he's had 2 subpar seasons. It doesn't, the numbers show it right there. I do think when it's all said and done, he is part of a move to try and improve the team. I think it was really not that surprising at all that they protected him. To go back to your chalk comment from about 20 minutes ago or so, it didn't surprise me when it was all said and done. I think the whole Nick Ritchie thing, I'm curious to see if they are able now to do a deal with him or not. He's the RFA, and can they figure this thing out with him? Is he going to be upset that he was left off after having what, he may consider like a pretty damn good season? But with regard to Jake DeBrusk, let's start there. Do you think he ends up in a Bruins sweater when the season opens? We'll call it October 12th or 14th, whenever it is. Do you think he's there when that opening night happens?
No, 70-30 says no. Listen, I think the only way that doesn't happen is if nobody gives anything up for him. And that's a possibility. I talked to a few people on other teams, friends of mine, who reached out and said, what do you think? And, I didn't say anything that everyone else hasn't said. Mm-hmm. And our Northeast scout said the same thing. So it'll be interesting to see what they can find value-wise and what their value. And it might get to a point. Is it worth trading Jake DeBrusk for a 5th-round pick or a 6th-round pick? Probably isn't.
They won't do that. They will not do that.
And I think that's why he was protected. I think that's where it goes to, where you can't give him up for absolutely nothing. And he might be a good piece to fit into a deal, but it's not going to be a straight up 1-for-1 with Jake DeBrusk. It's not.
As far as I'm concerned, having looked around the league, talked to a few people, not 2. That's it, not a couple, not even a few. I don't see there being a 1-for-1 deal out there.
Not even a Dan Heinen, Nick Ritchie deal. Like, that isn't really out there.
No, not right now, at least.
No,
right now. And therefore, I do think he's part of a bigger deal. I think it's, how big? Well, he's a 1st-round pick. I mean, look, I'll never forget. I was with the Atlanta Thrashers organization with Patrick Stefan. Remember Patrick?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The big number 1 pick there and everything. And Patrick had his strengths. He had his weaknesses. He had his injuries. But he got chances after the Atlanta. And boy, was that a tough scenario for him because he was a number 1 pick. Now, I know Jake wasn't the overall top dog. I get that. I get it.
Yeah, but he's close.
But he's still a number 1 pick.
Yeah.
He's a 1st-rounder.
Yeah.
So this is just such a different year. With so many different things happening. I mean, 5 years ago with Vegas, we would say, oh, this is a different year, an expansion year. But we have expansion, we have a pandemic, we have a flat cap, and we have uncertainty with a couple of teams. You know, Arizona has been mentioned a lot, and I think for good reason. I think that a team like that needs to move salary again. Holy smokes!
Oh, they're tanking. They're tanking out there again. They're just an absolute tank.
So, you know, could you work it into another deal like that? Maybe they might. So I think you and I know we're in agreement. We'd say 70-30. I may even go 75-25 that he doesn't start the season in a Bruins uniform. Tuukka Rask. I mean, I haven't even heard again, and I took when I say a little time off, I finally actually took a few days. I haven't done anything with regard to hockey except read here or there. Has he had his surgery? I'm being ignorant right here. Do you have any idea?
No, none. I haven't even put a call in. It's just, it hasn't. The Tuukka thing, I know it's like a question, but I don't think it pertains to anything that's going on here in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks. Like, I don't.
Absolutely not.
It has nothing to do with how the Bruins are doing business, and it's just kind of there on the back burner. I think you're not gonna know where Tuukka's at until November, December, where his rehab is, how much his rehab is going. So the one issue that this all ties into, and when it comes to Tuukka, is who's going to be the veteran guy they bring in, because they need to bring a guy in.
Yeah,
there's no ifs, ands, buts about that. Who is the guy that wants to come in with that uncertainty? Do they have an answer for that guy already of what's going to happen? Do they have it laid out for whatever that free agent is on the 28th and tell him this is the plan with Tuukka? Those are the stuff that no one are going to know except a few people. And do they have a plan in place? Because as a veteran goalie going into free agency, I've done this before. That uncertainty wouldn't make me feel great if I had another option to be able to go somewhere. I had a situation where I could go here, start the season, but this player is coming back. I had this very close scenario, and I chose the other. I chose the lock where I was going to go for 2 years rather than maybe this, and it could have been a really good fit for me, but I chose the lock, and that's where it'll be interesting to see what the Bruins do with the veteran guy.
This is where I don't think they're going to get exactly what they want.
They're not getting a Yarrow. They're not getting Yarrow Halak,
right?
Yeah, right. This was, and I know this for a fact as well. Over the last 5 years, this was position A for a backup goaltender. The top backup goaltender tried to get this Boston Bruins job the last 5, 6, 7 years of free agency, because you got behind Tuukka Rask, who only wanted to play 50 games. You're going to get your 32. You're going to get your numbers. You're going to get your play. You're going to be behind a great team, and you get a chance to win, and you're in a great city. Now it is in position A for that backup goalie. So you're not getting a Yarrow Halak. You're not getting a Hugh Dobin. Those guys are going to go somewhere else because there's just better opportunities. And that's what will be interesting with the Tuukka Rask situation. It's not Tuukka, it's who they can get in the next early period.
Which leads me to believe that they may have to address that via trade. They may have to address that via trade. Now, that still doesn't mean that the goaltender who ends up getting traded would be overly enamored. But it might. Now, you might get a guy, you come in and you say, look, we have a young kid that everybody knows is on the precipice at least of getting an opportunity, but you're still going to play as a backup 40 games, if not even a little more. And, we don't know about Tuukka, so you just come in here and you just play.
Yeah, no, and that's a great point. If you get traded, these conversations, they don't really even happen. It's just like, all right, come and play. Right. It's the free agency woo period where you have to deal with that. But yeah, it's a great point that there will be a lot of guys I would imagine, available through trade once the
Potentially,
dust
I would think
settles.
so. Yeah, I would think so. Look, the free agent market of goaltenders, I don't have it in front of me, but I
It's
know
not that great.
it's a guy like Mrazek. It's a guy like Elliott. Who else? I mean, it's
And
guys.
yeah, it's not great.
Right.
You got
So
Dreger going out he's going to
he's
Seattle. You
going to
didn't want
Seattle.
he wasn't the guy
He wasn't
anyways.
coming. That's the guy.
No.
He's not going to come here when you call him and say,
No, he's got
no.
2 or 3 other options, and yeah, it's not the fix.
Right.
Swayman's probably better than him anyways.
Right.
So that's the issue too. Guys look at it like, all right, this kid's good. Why do I want to try and compete with him when I can go somewhere where I feel like I'm better than the guy who's already there?
What's your thoughts on Darcy Kemper?
I love Darcy Kemper. You trade for him, you take his salary on, and then you deal with it. I think that's, if you're trading for Darcy Kemper, he had a really bad year for him. If he has a good year, Phoenix gets in the playoffs. Like he's a great goaltender.
Is he a number one?
Sure.
Big time?
On this team, behind this group, behind the way they play, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And okay, keep an eye on that.
Yep.
All right. Let's get to a couple of questions here from the fans. Let's do that. The Morning Brew listeners threw us a ton of questions. We can't get to them all, folks. Your ears are probably already bleeding listening to me ramble on here. We'll start with this one. This is from the Pasta Sauce 88. What are Razor's expectations for Jeremy Swayman? Can he carry the team until Rask returns? And if so, does he become the number one? I mean, it's perfect question after what we just discussed. I'm still, I know they asked you, but the Pasta Sauce, I'll give you my very uneducated goalie take. I do think that Swayman plays 35 to 40 games this year. I do. I think they'll look to protect him in the right way. And I don't mean like they're afraid. They're just saying, let's build him the right way, because we see what's happening with a guy like Carter Razor. That, even on what we thought was a decent team, holy smokes, he got exposed and the team got exposed. So I think they'll look to protect him for the next season.
Yeah, they have to build this guy. He can be great. Yes, he can be a guy who plays 15 years in this league, but you go all the way back to me. You go back through Tuukka Rask. You go back through Tim Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone played in the minors for 2-3 years. Jeremy Swayman's played 7 games. He played 10 games in Providence in Marlborough with no fans, no travel. Right. He hasn't played a 3-3 in the minors before. He hasn't rode a bus before. He hasn't played 82 games ever in his entire life. So these are real things, folks. Like this is like a real thing. It's not it's not made up. It's not to take anything. This is like a big deal for a college kid to go in and play 82 games and have to play 57 times in a season. It's really hard. So he has all the ability in the world. He has the perfect mindset. It's just not going to be that easy. He's just not going to jump in and go 38-20 next year.
Right.
It just won't happen that way.
Especially
and you need a lot of insurance. And you know what? If it does, great. But you can't plan for that right now. If you're building a team, you can't just expect that that's going to happen the same way you can expect it with Tuukka Rask, who's done it 12 times.
Especially with the way that this defense is a question mark right now. This is not little tweaks or little remodeling that they need to do. This is much bigger stuff that they've got ahead of them. So they need to get that situated. Otherwise, it could be a very difficult year for whoever's playing goal for the Boston Bruins.
That's right. Yeah. So long answer short is yes, he can be very good, but he needs a lot more experience, a lot more seasoning at the pro level, whether that's AHL, NHL, to get to a level where you just consider it automatic.
At Leo0311, was the Carlos signing smart or risky given his history with concussions?
I love it.
Yeah, I'm good with it. I still want. Look, this is a lame ass answer, as I like to say. There's risk in everything. Yes, I understand if we feel like there's more risk with these concussions. Evidently, everything that we hear, that we read, that we talk to people, he's recovered well from all of his issues. Um, I read somewhere, well, but if he gets one more, you got to be concerned. No shit. I mean, look, if he, you know what I mean? I mean, he could.
Don't forget, everybody, Patrice Bergeron sat out 20 months and literally sat in a dark room for 17 of those
Right, right.
10 years ago. So we don't know. The concussion, so you don't know. You don't
He could be
know.
fine, or he could be
Yeah.
not. And again,
Yeah.
that's high level analysis right there.
It is.
I think, yeah. Listen, the Carlos signing in a regular world, non-pandemic, not flat cap, and I'm going to say this too: he doesn't get injured as much. He's not signing for 4.1 average a year because
He's
that
6.
number, right? That number a few years ago was 4 million a year. Remember, with 3 years ago, we went through a bunch of guys signing for 4 million for 6 years, and you're like, that's your second pair guy. That's the up and coming, and then but. So Carlos, that guy. So you move on, you extrapolate out, and you go 2 or 3 years down the road. You're like, that's 5, that's 6. That, you know what I mean? That's more. But I think that signing is really indicative or symptomatic of where we are in this world right now. And yes, he's been injured. I get it. But, look, he's thrilled. He is thrilled to have this deal. Thrilled. And I think the Bruins are thrilled to have him at this deal too.
Yeah, if you want to have some fun, just go and check NHL salaries and see the guys that are making $4 million. And it'll make, if you don't feel good about the Carlos signing, it'll make you feel really good about the Carlos signing when you see a bunch of names making $4 million in the NHL right now.
Yeah.
I think it's a good deal.
This one is from Jason Cunningham. Yes. Thoughts on the 2 coaching departures. First was Jay Pandolfo, leaving the Bruins for BU, his alma mater. Jason writes, but leaving for the NHL job for a non-head coaching job is interesting, Jason says to him. It's interesting to him. And then Jay Leach leaving when he would have been the obvious replacement for Pandolfo in Boston. I'll let you start with this one. Your thoughts on the coaching departures of Jay Pandolfo and Jay Leach. I guess it was a good summer to be named Jay.
Yeah, they did. They both got to where they wanted to be. I think with Pandolfo, you're looking at, you have an opportunity to go to your alma mater. You're at BU. You have a younger family. The NHL is a grind.
Yep.
Much more so compared to the college ranks. And the college guys work really, really hard, but they have an easy gig compared to the NHL. So I think that there's no, for him not taking a college NHL or a head coaching job is irrelevant to him. I think he's in a really good spot and happy with it. Jay Leach, there is a difference between being the first assistant on an NHL hockey team and being the third assistant on an NHL hockey team. And I think we would all consider Jay Pandolfo the third assistant on the Bruins roster of coaches. In Seattle, he's the first assistant coach on that roster. And it's simple as that. It comes down to, that is a big difference when it comes to coaching and how you're looked, how you're perceived, how much responsibility you get, and how used to that kind of responsibility you want to have.
And how much closer you are to becoming a head coach.
That's right. Next in line. And so, I've known Dave Haxtell for years. He had some success with Philly. It was up and down, but he's a real cerebral guy. And he's looking for a guy like Jay Leach. I know they were looking for these younger coaches. They also hired the guy, was it McFarland from Toronto, younger. They want an energy around the team that they felt was very important, that they would perhaps get from guys that were a little bit more nouveau, cutting edge, so to speak, coming up, especially with development. And I couldn't agree more about Jay Leach going into the top assistant role versus one of a great coaching staff. I mean, Sacco and Dean, that's a great coaching staff. It really is what the Bruins have, folks. Yep.
But to be able to catapult up to that level
Yeah.
was enormous. And the Pandolfo move, 3 words: quality of life. That's what that was there for Jay Pandolfo. He loves the Boston Bruins, but he loves even more BU. And that doesn't mean he puts him higher importance, but that's where he, 4 years of being there, and it's such a career there. And,
Well, in his NHL career, and I mean, he had to take the random rental bus over to the Florida Everglades to practice on a Tuesday afternoon more than enough times when he was playing, twice as many times as an assistant coach, because he has to go run the optional skate. He doesn't have to
Right.
do that at BU.
Right.
And he certainly doesn't need the NHL job. He I don't think he was ever in the market to be an NHL coach. He wants quality of life. He's done his thing. And this is
He's got kids that play youth hockey. His family, is still, they're all in suburban Boston. It was just a great opportunity. And he's the associate head coach there. And so he's going to have a lot of say and a lot of impact. And I'd like to wish them both continued success and good luck. 2 high-level individuals there.
Awesome guys.
Macon Mayhem asks, the Bruins could lose 5 of their toughest players. This goes back to what we talked about earlier from last season. Miller, Tenorti, Lausanne, Ritchie, Wagner. Frederick helps. Gaudreau may no longer be an option. He will not be an option if the reports are true that he's going to sign a very large contract. By the way, that contract that he's signing with the Rangers, assuming he does, that's basically a way of Chris Drury saying to Gerard Gallant, like, get me a guy like that. You know what I mean? Like that, because, and so
we're gonna make a culture here.
Culture change. Exactly.
That's a culture call.
So with Gaudreau no longer being an option, how about somebody like Jamie Oleksiak? Who do you think can help? And he writes, you don't want to be Rangers versus Caps debacle. I guess he's talking about the end of the year thing. So let's address the toughness of the Bruins. I do think it's a valid concern today, Razor, in the sense of they've lost a lot of size. I mean, Kevin Miller and really the guy, Kevin Miller, is going to be a success in whatever he does. He's just that focused, determined, etc. Good luck, Kevin. A wonderful human being. Put it all on the line. But holy smokes, are they going to miss his toughness? You know what I mean? They're going to. So, I mean, do you want to see the Bruins sign somebody tougher, in that regard? How much do they need that?
I want size. I think size equates to toughness for the most part in this league now. You don't necessarily think of Shea Weber as a tough guy, but he's going to pound anybody out there if he needs to. I don't want you going out and just getting a random tough guy that plays tough, that plays hard, that's 5'10". I think for me it's size first, and Oleksiak's a perfect example of that. And I'm not saying he's a perfect fit here. I'm just saying he's not necessarily a mean tough guy. He's just really big and really strong and can protect himself in all situations and can go out, and Jared Tenorti can go out and protect a teammate if he needs to. It's not that necessarily that they're these tough guys from the 80s, 90s, 70s. I think for me it equates to size and to be able to just at least show up. And if you're big and you're strong, you can always show up.
Yeah, the Bruins the last couple of years have had too many smaller defensemen. And to your point, it's time for more size now. And I think you can handle one of them in your lineup, and win with one of them. I don't think you can handle with more. And it's just looking, I go back to your point about almost an hour ago now as we get set to wrap things up here soon too. You see the blueprint, right? See the blueprint on the back end. This leads to another question, Razor. Will Ferrero. Ferrero. So I hope I said that right. Question for you both. Which defenseman would you prefer they sign out of free agency? Jarmelson? No. McCabe? No. Oleksiak? Maybe. Martinez? No. I don't know. Alex Martinez? I'm not sure about that. Or re-sign Mike Riley. I mean, they're different. All those defensemen are very different. Oleksiak, my concern there, Bud, would be again, you go too much on all that. And that's where you got to be careful. You got to be, but I'm intrigued by him. I've liked him. I keep hearing that Dallas is going to figure out a way to re-sign him, but what do you think?
Yeah,
Mike Riley?
I mean, I don't mind Martinez either. The guy's won. He's been around. He is bigger than some of the other options. He's definitely not a physical tough guy. But if you could get an Oleksiak and Martinez, I think that's, again, I'm just throwing spaghetti against the wall from this question, but you take those two guys and you put them in the lineup, then you're like, all right. Then you have some pairs, you have some opportunities. I thought Mike Riley did well. I think he, when you're talking about getting bigger and stronger, you still need two guys ahead of Mike Riley.
Right.
Mike Riley fits if you have two defensive, hard-nosed players come in on the back end. Then it works really well but it didn't work with him and McAvoy being your top pair, or him and Grzelcyk being that doesn't work. No.
Ideally, Riley ends up as your number 5.
That's right. And your second power play guy.
Exactly. He ends up as your number 5. Well, yeah. I know Sergachev can have some moments of but I tell you what, I love the kid.
Him. Yeah.
One or two more. George Moreau asks, given that Brewers running Krejci are closer to end than the beginning, who do you think is the future 1 or 2 center? I don't know right now.
Nah, it doesn't matter. Find them some point.
I don't know right now.
It's not in this lineup.
No, and Studnicka, Mark Diver, who used to write for the Providence Journal. Mark was writing about the other day. Wonderful guy, talking about how hard Studnicka has been working, how he's added 10 pounds, which quite honestly is not that impressive. I've already added a few pounds too, and Diver didn't report that, so I don't know how impressive that is. But no, I mean, look, the kid's got great work ethic. The Bruins have him. They have John Beecher, who's at Michigan, and holy smokes, is the University of Michigan about to have a boondoggle of a upcoming draft, NHL draft with Beniers and
did you go to school there? Oh, did you go to school?
When they were taking below level average hockey players, I was there. Yes, flying around number 8.
What an alum!
What an alum! Oh yeah, one of the all-time favorites from there. No, but what I mean, good. They're going to have a great year there with regard to the draft. But we don't know who the number 1 is going to be. So all right, there's a couple of more. Let's move past it. I want to touch on one other thing here, and then let's wrap it up. And I want to get past this. This is not the Bruins. Do you have anything more in the Bruins that I have forgotten or haven't touched on? Anything, Razor?
No, we smoked it. We smoked it all out. We got the points. There's going to be 5 things that come up that no one could have seen coming, and we'll have to do another show.
All right, real quick, before we get to this last, Carey Price, does he end up in Seattle or not? I do not think he does. I know you want him to. I don't think he does, though.
At the end of the day, it seems like such a massive move. I look at Marc-Andre Fleury. It seems very similar to me. It seems very, very similar in the success that he's had. I know they're not quite the same guys, but I think it would intrigue me a lot more than just having it, just fluffing it off.
I don't disagree about that, about just fluffing it off. Interesting use of the term fluff. But I think that I want to feel the same in comparison.
It's about $10 million that's holding everyone up.
What did Fleury have? Seven when he came over?
Yeah.
What did he have?
Yeah.
So you're talking 3 more. By the way, from the original Vegas Golden Knight expansion draft, here's a list of players, Razor, that are still on the roster as of today. Fleury, McNabb, Marchessault, Carlson, Will Carrier, and Nosek. That's it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Everybody else that was drafted for the Vegas Golden Knights is no longer on the roster. A real quick rundown on the expansion rules, folks. Seattle will select one player from each team, except from every team, except from Vegas, who is exempt. But just so you realize this, Vegas doesn't get any of the $650 million expansion fee that comes into the league either. They don't get any of that money. So just know they don't lose a player, but they don't get any of that money. Vegas,
I bet the owner would give one of his guys up for $20 million
for sure,
bucks.
for 20, no problem. That was a bad idea then.
Yeah.
Can't we have a redo? Although that guy is so loaded, like 20 million is like 2,000.
It's in his couch.
Really. The requirements for Seattle are as follows. They must draft at least 14 forwards, 93 goalies, and then 4 random, anything else, but 14, 9, and 3. There's other rules, the minutia. I'm not going to get into that too much. Every player that is in their first or second year of pros is exempt from the draft. That's why players like a Jeremy Swayman is not involved there. The draft happens July 22nd, right? Yes.
Wednesday, right?
Wednesday. The 20th, not the 22nd, the 20th. And then at the 21st, why are my dates all wrong here? What's today? Oh, today's Monday. I screwed up. Beg your pardon.
Because today's Monday. It's the 21st. It's Wednesday.
21st. Yeah, sorry. I thought today was
Yeah.
Tuesday. I just screwed up. So the 21st, 10 a.m. Eastern is the deadline for Seattle to put in the expansion list. And then they will announce it that night on, I guess, many channels. Last thing, outside of the Bruins, and just happened this midday today, Luke Prokop, a junior player in the Western Hockey League, made public to the hockey world that openly, I'm gay, coming out.
Yeah.
I'm saying, hey, other people knew this. Some friends and family have known for a little while, but I'm telling everybody. I understand the magnitude of it. And I can't imagine the anxiety, perhaps the nerves, whatever the term is that he had. It's I heard him on some interviews, a strong young man. I mean, amazing. The reaction has been predominantly incredibly positive, which makes me thrilled, absolutely thrilled. It's funny. At first I looked at it, I'm like, what? Wow. I was like overly impressed. And I'm like, you know what? This isn't a big deal. It is a big deal. I get it. I'm not sure. It is a huge deal, Razor. But I'm sitting there saying, when will this not be a big deal? That
pretty soon.
To me, that's what I was going to ask you. Are we close to that? Because I mean, I watch, young kids go through so many things. It's not just about their sexuality, but going through so many different things now that I'm a parent, figuring things out. And you forget, at least I do at times, what that computer goes through as it, what I mean, that brain of theirs goes through. And I can only imagine what this person as a child was going through. And now that he found himself as a 3rd round pick of the Nashville Predators and decided to do it, holy smokes, strong individual. I think an amazingly strong individual. And I after I read it, I said, this is great. But to me, it's not a big deal at all. I mean, we've got to be close to it not being a big deal. Aren't we? Please tell me.
No, I'm the same way. I saw it and I was like, oh, I just assumed that there was other guys that had already done it in the end. Like I really didn't put it on just him. And I think that's, again, I'm a kid from small town Canada the same way he is. It's 20 years ago. Oh my God. I can't imagine the fervor and the sides everyone would have taken, but I think it's great to see the outpouring support. That's great. Now let's go play hockey and make it to the NHL, kid. It's a good day for hockey. It's a good day for the NHL. great day for the kid. More importantly than anything
Great
else
day
is
for the
that
kid.
I'm
Yeah.
sure he's going to put his head down tonight and really feel the support that he's gotten, and that now he can just go and play hockey and play
Right.
on. That's it. That's what he wants to do. That's all
And
he
just
wants to
go
do. And
play.
now he can play and live with it.
Right. And the only reason I wanted to touch on it there, you being a former NHLer, me being, playing in college and stuff. And we know this. There is we know that there has to be a gay NHLer right now.
Yeah.
We know
and I had to have played with one over 13 years. I had to have.
Exactly.
It never would have mattered. It
ne-
really
well,
wouldn't have.
Well, it would have to certain people. Right. It would have. To you, it would never have mattered.
Mm-hmm.
But I
To
just
the
feel like
majority. To the majority.
I'd agree. I mean,
Yeah.
we're at that point, and I can't say it enough. Anyways, we just wanted to touch on that. All right. Anything else? We'll do another morning brew let's do it right after free agency. What do you say?
Yeah.
So that's about 10 days from now.
Let's let the fireworks go off, and there's going to be some action, and we'll let the dust settle.
Yeah. If I guess there's one caveat here. If something big happens, and I mean, huge trade or something around, because the draft is in just a couple of days, the NHL entry draft. But if something mega happens between expansion and then the entry draft, let's hop on. Let's get something done. If not, let's reconvene right around free agency, the 28th, 29th. We'll bring another morning brewing, and we'll talk about that. All right? What do you say?
Beautiful. Works for
All
me.
right.
I'm here.
All right. Folks, it's been a lot of fun. Again, a long episode here of Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. It's been a long time since we sat down, so we covered it all. Keep in touch with us via social media. Thank you for all of the support. RC, thank you for your time, buddy. It's great to have you joining us again right here. Good luck. Continued success over at Harvard. And in the meantime, you know what, guys? I think this may not even be a double coffee. This might be a triple coffee, given the length of this one. So as always, thank you for listening and enjoy that coffee.